Welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience podcast, Sunday wrap-up. You're here with just Mike for the time being. Sabs will be here shortly, so I'm going to get us started. Another bit of a crazy round. Sorry, me, for the delayed start, but yeah. Another crazy round. Roosters on the bye this week, and we head into our third and final bye round. After that, I guess teams are going to start looking for their structure and getting their final teams on the park. So, and obviously, if your numbers aren't too good for next week, we're dealing with that. During the podcast, we should have some of the Origin teams, so we'll try and get that to you too, because we're expecting some of them are going to impact our side. For me, let's start off with me. 1407 for me this round, 5,000 ranks. So, to be honest, I'm happy. 12 out of 12 wins in my head-to-head cashy, so I'll take it. Realistically, with no one absolutely breaking the walls down for the popular options, I feel like it was if you captain Drinky or not will determine your rounds. But yeah, comment how you guys went below. I'll comment on that. But yeah, other than that, 1407, pretty good week for me. I'm happy with that. I think that should see me go into the top 5K this week, hopefully up 1,000, and look to have another big week next week. Got some injuries out of this round. Toby Couchman, I'll have to get rid of him, but I've got a good numbers for next week, so I'll be looking at my early trade thoughts, maybe just him to Angus Crichton, just to set myself up, because in round 19, you guys got to think ahead. There's going to be a bunch of players that you're going to want to grab, and without a boost, I need more than two. I could potentially want Cleary and Edwards, depending how they back up. So if I grab someone like Crichton or just will help me for that round. Apart from that, there were a lot of other injuries in some of the other games that are going to impact some sides, like Metcalf and co. Apart from that, yeah, Captain Drinky. Tom finally given a little bit of life to. I just really wanted to hold on to after this last match, and then Hughes and Katoa got it done this afternoon. Apart from that, let's start wrapping up the games. I think heading into this, 18 players for next round, but now Couchman's down at 17, and I'm also prepared that potentially I could be without one of Kolomatangi or Terame or both if they get selected. But who knows what Laurie's going to do? Probably not what we want him to do or what we think he's going to do. All right, let's start reviewing the games for the week. First one is my boys, the Panthers. They're back. Whether you like it or not, they're coming back. They're going into a bye. They're a 4 wins, so they've gone through this period with some players picking up decent scores, which you'd say the Warriors and the Dogs were too hard of matchups for them. So they've cleared that. They're now going to a bye. I get they're going to have a bunch of guys come back and rest, could potentially get rested. Penrith do have a Sunday game, I think, once they come back against the Eels. So maybe they won't rest them, because look how tight that competition is. 1 loss and, you can slide straight from 6th down to 10th. The Sharks side had the 8 this week. So surely we'll see what Ivan comes up with. But yeah, the Panthers draw, I think over the next 5 weeks, it's one of the better draws. It's one I'll be heavily targeting to just make a big stretch to finish off the head-to-head final season well before we get into the final. Sorry, the head-to-head season before we get into finals. And yeah, to try and just, pump through and get as close as I can in that top 1K. So the Panthers are going to be very irrelevant. The draw will read, so they'll play their last bye. They'll have their last bye coming up. They're all done with theirs. So they'll play all the way through now. And they've got Para, Bunnies, Tigers, Titans, Newcastle. Those next 3 games are all at Combank Stadium. They started pretty rocky there. They've started to get some wins there now. But the main thing is they're all in Sydney. Then after that, they got one in the Gold Coast and then one in Newcastle. But I really like that draw. So the top scorer this week is a guy that I'm heavily considering. Don't have Pappenhausen, and at this point with the low scores, I'm not really interested. Even next week, I've got 3 playing fullbacks. I think it'd be silly to sell one of them unless I wanted to run home with Paps. I think I'd rather run home with the pod. Really like Dylan Edwards, especially with his quad complaint. Edwards can continue to kick the goal, so I think he's an option. 102. I know Savs was really keen on him as well. 620K, break even to 71. He'll go up a little bit, around about 635, 640. So he's going to be at a good price. And for some of us, like Tom Trbojevic, if we want to get rid of Trbojevic, could be a stepping stone to get rid of him without spending too much. So I'll be looking at that avenue for sure. Next player, Cleary, 86, charge down try. Look, I know a lot of us sold us. For the ones that sold, you've got to get back on as soon as you can. To be honest, I will look at bringing him straight back for round 19. I'm just going to have a look at how, obviously, what happens after this Origin game. Is he going to back up? How's he look? Maybe I could potentially wait one more. His break even was 116, so he'll lose about 27-ish K. And his break even probably will still be decent, not super high, but in his rolling average, he'll have a 60 and this week score at 86. So you could definitely wait that extra week, but with a game up against the Eels, I think, I'll be ready to jump, depending on just who I want to sell out of Hines or Hughes. Apart from that, SuperCoach relevant guys that you might want to look for the run home, Isaiah Yeo with a 65. Apart from that, Brian To'o with a 52 basically played that second half so many times you thought he was going to come off the field injured. So I was very keen on jumping on him as soon as I could get rid of Billy Smith after this bye. But with this injury lingering, he's probably going to play for the Blues. If he does play for the Blues, he's going to be a little bit hurt. Maybe he gets the rest the week after. But I just want to see how he manages this injury, because I'm worried picking up someone like him now, if he's just going to go down, and potentially be out for longer periods. I want to make sure before picking up he's all right. If not, I'll have to look to Lomax. And I guess the thing with Toto is I love that draw. If he can stay fit, I think he can really eat up that draw at a lower percentage ownership. And he's cheap. He'll lose a little bit of money this week, probably sit around the 615 to 620K mark. So I'm pretty keen I'm still looking at him. He's definitely my black book there, because with the money that, I've freed up over the past weeks, and a lot of you guys will be doing the same thing, especially if you bought Karapani in. I don't want to go straight and spend that extra 100K on Lomax if I think I can get similar out of To'o, because then it'll allow me to use some of that money I gained last week with last week's trade and grab another guy. Like, if you can try and use that money to get a couple of, guys that you're going to run for the run home instead of looking for enough or using another trade to get money. So I'm just trying to absolutely juice with the stash I have at the moment. Apart from that, I guess the Jenkins owners, maybe, tough one. Like 31, he's going to potentially start losing some value. Like -1, he'll still have that high score in his rolling average. With that draw, maybe law of averages, maybe just wait. Panthers wins have been pretty low scoring ones. So if they can start to click in attack. Wait, is my mic not been working this whole time? Hello. Wait, give me a sec. Hello, audio. Hello, test. Well, you can hear me. Savs is saying you can't hear me. Wait, give me a sec, guys. I'll keep going anyways. Is my mic even working? Should be working. If anyone can't hear me, surely you would have commented by now. Let's hold up. Yeah, sweet. Never mind. Tim just said to keep going. Subs is throwing me off. He's saying my mic's not working, but I was like, I did a test before it started. All right, I'll keep going. Cheers, guys. They're saying they can hear. So I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't wasting my time. All right, let's keep going. Savs is still in Penrith, so I'm not sure if when he's gonna rock up, but we'll keep rolling solo. I'll try not to die like I did last time. Apart from that, I think for Jenkins, like I'd wait and give him probably one more week and then look to offload. But as I said, like I've been thinking Penrith can come back for a little bit, and the fact they've got a nice draw now, they become a target for snatching them up. I think right now you've got to look at how many buys teams have, and the ones that have very few, I think you can target that because you're going to get a lot out of that. Over to the Bulldogs, top score Connor Tracy. not really super coach relevant in my book. I know he was at one period. I guess the thing is, if you're low on numbers, you can definitely look at the Dogs. There are some plays that you could snag up for next week that can help you with the number, but also that you can run home with. So that brings me to the guy that got the second highest score for the Dogs, Jacob Preston. He's a gun. If I was after a second row gun, he's a man. I don't know how I feel about if like owning kick out and him. It's probably why I haven't gone there. I am after a second row this week, but the way I look at it, I can get Angus Crichton for 100k cheaper. And Preston's absolutely killing it. If I needed to buy a number and I wanted a second row, definitely Preston. He's absolutely killing it. Break even at 93. He's not going to lose any value. I think if you really like him, you jump on. I think he's going to fluctuate around that price. And he's got pretty good workload, pretty good base. And that try always tips him up to around that 80 to 90 mark, which is always nice for a second rower. Apart from that, Viliami Kickout, man, like he's just, I know Timmy and some of the other boys were looking at potentially getting him this round, and I was looking at his score after the first 30, and I was like, oh, here we go. Here comes a kick-ass stinker if he can't score. And, man, he just racked up the points, and I'm very happy with the 66 in a score in a game where there was only one try to each team. So I'll take that, man. And to be honest with you, as a kick-out owner, like if you're an owner, you're not even going to look to sell him. I'm pretty happy to play him most weeks. The doggies draw is a bit mixed, and when it does tend to open up, you know what I mean? Like he's got the attacking upside too. Jacob Carraz, a lot brought him in this week. I thought he'd have a much higher score this round. I should have saw the grimy game coming up, but 56, I guess if you didn't jump on, he's the closest you'll get to a must-have next week. Just because you're going to get that Byron out of him, unless, obviously, Brian To'o gets hurt at training, like he is carrying an injury. So if for some reason he's out, then obviously you're going to have to wait on Carraz because surely Carraz would go into Origin next. Apart from that, Matt Burton's probably someone you could look at if you're on a 5-8 for the run home. He looked pretty good in this game. Maybe 54 didn't translate to that, but there wasn't as many points. And I guess that's just what impressed me with Dylan Edwards. I don't know if I'm going back to Dylan Edwards, but just he got 18 points in tackle bus. I know he had 2 line breaks in there, but the big stat for me was 42 points in runs. Like, stuff like that. And I know Penrith seem to have those more grimy games. It's handy to grab someone like him for those grimy games. Because, yeah, he had the goal kicking in this one, but he only ended up getting +6 from the goal kicking because he only snagged 2 and then he missed that penalty goal in the end. Apart from that, let's move on to the next game. We're going to go over to Manly and Tigers, 28-10. After that first half, I have a lot of Manly backs. I'm just hoping some of them can just hold their value and I don't have to worry about selling them. Because if Manly have a poor week, it really impacts my SuperCoach side at the moment. But they all, towards the end of the second half, they got some first half, they got some attacking stats. In the second half, they did pretty good. Garrick with 93. I personally said that I liked his move to the wing on Barnes' podcast last week. And I know Sabs and Timmy were also liking that as well. And he was a gun in the past in that position. I think he's just someone that you can't really have him. And he'll be crucial again next week, where I think they have a friendly. Their draw gets tough. That's also why I do want to offload Tom. But they play Souths next week in the bye. I like that matchup. No Latrell. I think that'll be good for those guys. It is at 4 Points Park as well, so that's going to be a heavy target for your VCLC. I'm not sure what match I played. I haven't looked into that side yet. DCE. 76 owners would be happy with that one. Turbo 75, I'll take it. I just want anything to start that value going up, and I didn't mind him at center. I thought it kind of suited where his body's at the minute, and yeah, I still think he's a VC option. And like, I wouldn't say C option. If they play early next round, you could definitely look at Tom for your VC, purely just because when the ball gets to him, I just think in that game it could have capitalised a bit more. One more try or try system, we're closer to that ton. Apart from that, SuperCoach relevant. I know a lot of people looking at Lehigh Hopewada. He got saved with that try assist in the second half, or we were looking at a very low score. I guess if you didn't jump on, he'll lose 40k this week. He'll sit around the 620k mark. And I'd still say he's an option for next week. If you don't have too many Manly, like say you had Garrick and Tom, I have all 3 of these guys, but with how they're performing, they had a better week last week. I was against the Tigers with a lot of guys out. So I wouldn't be looking at having too many, mainly because their draw gets tough, like I said. Like, after they play the Bunnies, they're going to come into round... so they'll have a bye in round 19, don't forget. And then they'll have Melbourne, Dogs, Roosters, Raiders. Like, that's a really tough 4 rounds. And you're going to have to... That's basically going to take you into the final, so like head-to-head final series. So you got to think about that as well. But he's definitely still an option, especially if you need a number for next week. But just realize if you're picking up guys that are going to sit out in that last mini bye round, you just got to count your numbers. All right, Manly. Apart from that, there's no one I'm really looking at. No one pottish-wise. As I said, like, I'll be a bit reluctant on getting them in because they've looked really bad. Like, when they're bad, they're really bad. And they showed glimpses of it. Even in this match, they showed a little bit glimpse of, like, oh, they could do so much more. So I wouldn't be looking at bringing in anyone from that, anyone else at this stage, unless you thought differently. Then, of course, trust your own gut. Over the Tigers, Cheryl Mace, top score to them. No surprise. Dewey with a 76. They do cover their first bye round of the year and their only bye round of the year. So if you got some Tigers, is there any that I'm interested in picking up to them? Because, like, right now, you want to pick up guys that you're probably going to be willing to run home with. Maybe Karapani's the one, like in his instance, I didn't mind bringing him in to then get rid of him if he's going to make 300K fast. But yeah, apart from that, with them under the Tigers, Latu Finu, I know we were a couple podcasts were speaking about him last week, and I think the boys might have too. He'll go up like 50K, he'll go to like 330K, so probably a bit too... It's getting a bit tougher now, the more money that he begins to make, but it wasn't too bad if he jumped on, I guess. It wasn't amazing either. Apart from that, yeah, there's no one really excites you from the Tigers at this point. Taruva's gone all the way down to 404K. If you're absolutely ballsy and you had lots of trades, like, is there a world where that can work? They play the Roosters in the bye, and then they come out of that and they play the Warriors, the Titans, the Panthers, the Bulldogs. Like, maybe if you think you can start in the start of the year, he was scoring try after try and his scores are good, but like, that's a trade in for probably the faint-hearted. Like, yes, that's a very, very ballsy pod, but like, I could see a little bit of value in that at 400K. Before we move on to game 3, I'm just going to sip my water and answer a couple of questions. Well, I'll just chuck a couple of comments up. Got Macapaka. Only got 1320. Captain Pappy. Oops. Yeah, that looked like it would have been a pretty decent... Well, that's not a bad score in my eyes, but obviously if you got a better captain there, they would have elevated a bit, but just depends where you're ranked with where you move. Luke Easton with the 1138. Sion Paps, not great. Yeah, he was our most heavy captain for this round, so not complaining as a non-owner, but yeah, that'll probably see red arrows this week. We got Pat Adam. Thoughts on keeping Starling? So it's a fair question. I'm a Starling owner. Been one from round 1, and to be honest with you, I'm not looking at offloading him. I'm going to have to make it like I've got him and Sandon Smith. I know I'm going to want to move one to Harry Grant. And that's the second part. Are you hoping to get Harry Grant post-origin? 100%. So I've got, like, everyone should have a list of who they want to get post-origin. For me, in my list, I want to get Cleary. I want to get Angus Crichton. I want to get one of To'o or Lomax. And I would like a fullback, whether that's Latrell or Dylan Edwards. They're the positions that I want to make with the 12 trades I've got left. So I've just got to make a decision who I want to get rid of more. And at this stage, I think the fact of Sam Walker coming back, if he does come back from that injury, then I'm going to want to have... I prefer to have Starling because I don't really care where his value goes. I got him at bottom dollar at the start of the year. He's still a playable option. Like, I thought he was pretty, like, maybe I've got my favoritism cap on, but I thought that try that assist that Mr. Sungy got, I thought he deserved it too. Like, that quick border to get it to him, and I know he did the offload. I still think he deserved a little bit more than that, but maybe that's just me. I'd probably keep him. It depends who your other hooking option is. If you like your other hooking option or you think it's going to be too big of a money gap to do that, then I can get around a Starling sell. But that kind of bridges into the Canberra game. Anyways, and thank you. Yes, let's have a quick look at the draw because we're about to get into tonight's Raiders game anyway, so it's relevant. They're going to be back for this bye round. So obviously, if you're looking at the selling it, obviously post-origin, that makes sense. You wouldn't sell him going into this one. They're going to play the Dragons. I like that matchup. They're going to play Eels, Knights, Dragons, Manly. Like that's a pretty good run to me, and he'd probably be a playable option in most of those weeks. So yeah, I probably wouldn't get rid of him. They then have a bye, play the Panthers, Tigers, Dolphins. So realistically, he could be pretty handy for the final series, especially if Harry Grant goes down. He'd be a pretty handy backup to have. So I don't mind that holding him at all. I guess on the flip side, they do have 2 buys left. That is probably a big catcher there. But if you're going to have Harry Grant in the other position, I don't think it's going to matter too much. If you were super bad on your numbers for the mini buy round, then it makes sense to go Starling to Grant to put those numbers down. Let's move on to wrapping up this game. Keep the questions flowing. I'll get to them after we finish the Saturday games. Pardon me. So James Schiller top scored this one, gets on back at his old club, and man, he had a stellar game, a big reason they nearly come back. Bradman Best, Savs touted him as an option last week. I didn't mind it as well. Probably one I wouldn't go, but man, an 81, that's 2 back-to-back decent scores since he's come back. He's made an instant impact on that edge. His break-even 61, but that break-even is going to be a lot lower next week because the 51 will drop out. He'll have 116 and an 80 in there. He is pretty pricey, so not a bad option. There's just too many other center wings to go on Bradman Best. But if that's who you were feeling, I wouldn't say don't jump on it. So, apart from that, Ponga 61 hurt himself. He's going to be out for a little bit. So, yeah, Sharp's out as well. So it'll be interesting to see what changes they make in the back line and who it's going to impact. Whether or not they just get I forget his name, the guy that's awesome at catching with the mullet. Maybe he comes back in fullback. I'm not too sure. Dylan Lucas at 59. I guess it's getting to the point where, like, he's a gun. You probably wouldn't want to sell him, but it's getting to the point where once your team gets really stacked, if you're not feeling you don't like the matchup and you wanted, like, he's pretty, at the moment, he's just getting a safe 60 unless he gets attacking stats. I could get around having him as your 18th and 19th and not playing him each week. Just as his team starts to get stacked, because he's just been a little bit lackluster as of late. And we say lackluster, but he's still getting, around the 60 mark, which is good, but he's just not showing that ceiling at which he had earlier in the comp. But I guess if the tries come back up, then that's going to help him. But at this stage, like, that's what, if I'm kind of thinking, Kickout or Lucas, and Kickout's got a great matchup, I might play him for that week instead. I don't think, like, for me, he's going to be a locked-in play tweak just for now. Or your teams, like our teams, are going to start to get stronger and stronger. So it's going to be the hardest part of our weeks. Apart from that, from the Knights, no one really else I'm interested in at all from them. Let's go over to the Raiders. KO Weeks top scores this one at 109, and for all the guys that got off Zach Hosking, he answered back with a 106. So if you held on to him, it'd be a nice little way to pay you back, and you'll go into this next buy round with him as a number, and then a potential. Then you can work out what to do with him because obviously they've got their buy. So Simeon Sasangi is a gun. Like, he's 92. He just keeps getting it done. 442k. If he looked down an 80-minute roll, man, he'd seriously be an option because Canberra, I think, we already went through their run home. It's pretty good. Tapane, 62. His minutes down. You just hold him. Like, there's no way I could get around selling some of these guys because, like, it just gives you coverage for the run home. So I don't like their run home. I think there could be some attacking stats in there for him. So I'm not looking at selling him. Horsburgh pumped to 74. If he doesn't go into that Queensland Origin side, which I don't think he will, they won. I don't think we'll see too many changes except for the forced ones. Apart from that, if you're feeling any of the Raiders plays and you like their run coming up, you could take a Hail Mary on some of them. Let's go to the next match, which I didn't get to catch a lot of the Broncos Warriors game, but let's go. Anyway, someone's, I guess, commenting on Fade Lucas. Attack will go through best. That is also true, but I still don't know if I could sell him with how well he's gone this year because, as you said, like, they might have favored best, but it's still a 60. It's just maybe you don't have to play him each week, like I alluded to. Shibasaki top scores the Broncos Warriors game 26-12. Who has him still? Not some people might, but apart from that, they're probably the number one trading for the week, Carapani with a 71. That was my only trade for the round. I went Toya to Carapani just so I could start making some money to bring in my final guys for the next couple of weeks. Minus 85, break even, 55. So, like, I don't have Savs here, so my calculations aren't as exact as he is because I don't have the Jay Schubert stats. But we're going to get at least 110K. Let's do rough math. I'm predicting around 130K just off the top of my head. So straight up, so that's going to see him get into the 400K. Big break even again next week. So yeah, this could be a really good period where you just juice him, wait till he stops scoring tries, see kind of that low floor, and then upgrade him. But he's in a good position there on the side he's playing. So yeah, I think owners will be very happy with that one, and we'll be able to play him next week or for buy coverage. Ezra Mam keeps continuing to get it done. I guess it's important to note that the Broncos also play their first and last buy round for the year as well. Ezra Mam keeps getting attacking stats, keeps getting it done. 70 this week, 64 the week before, 58, 41, 128. Hasn't scored below 40 this year, but he is needing to score attack. It's just such a dead position. I guess if I'm making a trade there, I'm going to be making a trade maybe like Sabs posted this week to Murray Martin if he gets that starting spot. Or I'd prefer to go up to a gun that I'm happy to keep for the rest of the year. Unless you really think the Broncos are going to make like a bolder dash to the finish, then maybe that is a good play. Payne Haas with a 45. Get that low score after the big one last week. I still think for the people that did sell him, you'll be looking at bringing him back as soon as you can. Maybe this 45 might give you a couple more weeks just to wait it out and might help his price dip a little bit. Next one, we'll go over the Warriors. The top score was to Vida at 67. The big news out of this game was obviously Metcalf 35 injury. Looks to be bad. I'm not sure if we got confirmation yet, but doesn't look to be too good. Could be out for the rest of the season, obviously, if it's at ACL, but nonetheless, it's going to provide opportunity for whether or not they go Tanner Boyd into the halves and keep Tamari on the bench, or if Tamari goes into the halves. When Tamari was a 7 last year, he was absolutely crazy. And to be honest, I've got Brimson's doing a job for me, but I can flick him to the center wing. If I see a little bit of life out of Tamari Martin, then I potentially could look at it. If I instead of making enough, I would do that in that position. I could even go Billy Smith to him, make 170K by flicking Brimson down, or I could sell one of Brimson and Campbell to him to make money. Just because if he can do what he did last year in the Warriors, I know they're coming off 2 losses. I think there's a lot of potential there. He's 253K, break even of 45. He only gets 33 this week, so his price isn't going to go up. And he'll go into, obviously they don't play next week, but they'll come out of the bye round and play the Tigers. They probably have the best run home out of all the other teams. They'll go Tigers, Knights, Titans, Dolphins, Bulldogs, tough one, Dragons, Titans, Eels, Manly. Important thing to note there is their buys are done after next week. So that's a pretty good run to only have the Bulldogs there. And out of the final games home, he's got a total of 5 games at home in New Zealand. So that's all those guys. So to be honest, I don't have any worries. I am definitely looking at Tamari Martin. He's a halfback 5'8" dual. I guess that's only handy if you've got a halfback in there that's a bit of a dual, and I guess most of us would have 2 of Hughes, Cherry, Hines, and Cleary, so I guess that wouldn't really help you there. But yeah, he's 100% an option just from what he did last year. Think about it. He's lost 410K from his starting price, so he come in at 663K this year. So there's no way that you can't not look at him just because of the price and the draw. Will I be able to jump straight for 19? I think I'd want to see a game at 80 minutes, see if he's named. See where he's named. If he's going to definitely start, get one game. If he kills it and goes to 290, 300K, I'm still happy to pay that price for him. So yeah, apart from that, the Warriors runs home's good. So I guess there's a couple guys you could look at as a bit of a pod. RTS with a 57. Someone from their backline, you might want to take a stab at him. Aaron Clark, 62. He keeps on getting along. And even maybe someone like Leka Halasima. I know he's not really starting, but someone from their starting end just could be a bit of a pod. All right, that's halfway through the games. I'll answer a couple more questions. Let's go. Okay. Second row options are limited from Jamie Camilleri. I'm assuming a fellow Maltese person. What's going on, mate? Yeah, maybe. Like, it just depends. Maybe if we say the guns category, like, I think picking up, like, once Hudson Young comes back, he's an option. I think Angus Crichton is definitely an option. Both Firma showed today that he is an option. Maybe not out and out guns, but just maybe fringe guys that you want to kind of pick up. So, yeah, there's a couple guys that I'm definitely keen on. I think Isaiah Yo, someone you can run home with. There was someone else that I didn't want to have to, like Jacob Preston. I think there are some, but I guess it just depends. I think right now a lot of the high scoring options, I'm personally looking at a lot more centre wings than anything, but there are definitely options. You just have to. Oh, I guess a lot of them are going down. I guess that's the point to make out of it. Jason McLeod, 14.45 is sort of good. Just kidding. It doesn't matter. I'm 20,000. Hey, it definitely matters. It all adds up. But yeah, I think 14.45, you see good green arrows in that position. I'm expecting. I feel like I just never get a big jump. I have a good week, but it's just enough to see me go up 1,000. So I'm thinking I go up at least 1,000. I'm hoping. Jag 14.40, no Drinky last game was a tough watch. That's a solid score without Drinky, let alone a Drinky C. It's pretty good. Pat again. We got, is Tommy a keeper given he's at centre wing? Small sample size. I do like him at it. Is he a keeper? I'm not too sure. I'd have to see a lot more. As I said, I really like the look of Latrell Mitchell or Edwards. So if he can't go massive next week, I'll definitely be looking at offloading him for that first round after the bye, because they've got a bye in round 19, so it's going to really hurt me. I've got a lot of plays in that game, so like I'll be looking at it. But if I see another big score from him, there's like if he goes like 80 plus, or even like anywhere close to that 100, like it'd be hard to sell him with those two scores at center. Like he's probably going to go back to fullback at some point. They said that, but it's all up in the air. It depends on multiple different scenarios. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one, because I was also looking at maybe selling Drinky to get some of these other fullbacks, and then he pumps out 130 today, so I guess I'd want to let his value sit up a little bit. It's all about like selling guys at the right time for me at the moment. But yeah, it's like I have plans to sell him, but I know definitely there's an avenue where he makes me not want to sell him. Apart from that, let's continue on to game number 5, the Dragons versus the Eels. It's funny, the top scorer from this one is a player that Savs and I were both very keen on, and then we kind of weren't. Like, I know I heard Sav say on the pod last week that he wasn't keen on him anymore, and I started to get cold into. And Valentine Holmes, 117, has a killer game and kind of shows that he's still got that ceiling. He did score a double, intercept try in the end. But yeah, he had no line breaks in that too, might I add. So that's pretty good for 117. That could have been a lot bigger. 2 line break assists though. Break even of 118, so he is not really going to lose much at 690k. I guess you can still chuck him into that equation with Zach Lomax and To'o, like one of those guys for your run home. The Dragons draw. They are, let me just have a look. They are done with their buys. They don't have any more left. Yeah, they're done. So they've got Para, Canberra, Roosters, Dogs, Cowboys, Raiders, Sharks, Warriors, Bunnies, Manly, Penrith. It's mixed. I don't hate it. Like, if you look at Holmes and Lomax neck and neck, most of you would say Lomax. But if you have a deeper dive, Lomax's draw really, really turns me off, and especially while like Moses is out too. If Moses was in there, maybe like the heavy draw wouldn't scare me as hard. But at this point, like, if I am going to want to spend money on that, like just showing and seeing what Holmes can do again, like it kind of might make me think a little bit harder on it. So I still think he's definitely an option. It's just there is so many guys that you can potentially grab. So I guess it's just who you like more and who you believe is going to make that finals push, because that's also going to give those teams a bit of incentive to perform, because they're going to want to charge. It's the closest a comp's been in a while, and it's exciting. It's good. Apart from that, stay on top of the Dragons. Really dip straight down to Cook at 68. Guffo 54. No one really SuperCoach relevant here in my book. I guess low percentage ownership of Couchman for those guys affected. Yeah, looks to be a pretty bad injury, so he's probably going to be out for a while. He's going to become a sell. I did plan on holding him for the rest of the year, so that one would just become Angus Crichton, most likely for me next week, and that's probably the only trade I want to make. not really. Like, I think one thing that I've learned from the buy rounds is like I went in. I'm slowly made a bit of ranking. I went in with 17 in the last one, and I did good, but I didn't go super massive. I think if I had 15 players, I'd be more than content with that. It's harder to make grounds. I just saw Jade again. So the blue squad just dropped. I'll get to that in a sec. I'll finish this game and then I'll try and find it. Maybe just tell me where they've chucked it on, if they've chucked it online, so I can know where to find it faster. But I think I know where to look. So don't stress. All right, let's go to the Eels. Tuolangi 97. No more buys for them. Is an option at 420k. Oh, break even to 7. It's going to start getting a bit too expensive to jump on now. Zach Lomax was on at about 7 at halftime. And then, ended on 88. So he just shows you that he's still an option. High 98 for him. So his price is probably settled at there. So you're going to have to pay in and around that price. Definitely someone we're going to be looking at. Apart from that, Dylan Brown with a 63. Not really interested in anyone else from the Eels. I know it's going to be pretty boring, but this point of the season, if you're low on trades, you've got to start getting guys you're happy to run home with. All right, let's just sit on that. Let's discuss the Blues team. So let's go over the 1 to 20. Dylan Edwards, To'o, Crichton, Latrell Mitchell, Lomax, Luai, Cleary, Max King, Robson, Haas, Martin, Crichton, and Yo make up the 13. And then you've got Watson, Linu, Young, Atoikamanu. 18th man is Jacob Carraz. 19th man is Lindsay Smith. The 20th is Bradman Best. Any surprises in that? I'm surprised that I think they should have dropped Atoikamanu. Like, all of a sudden, we've now got Colin Matangi and Terrell May. We don't have to worry about those guys. But I would have brought in one of them instead of him. Their runs were dog shit. And even Max King, I could have got her. I personally, like, I know some all the doggy feeling make me. I would have switched him and Atoikamanu for Terrell May and Colin Matangi. Yeah, maybe they didn't play the first 2 games. That's a dumb call, but that's what I believe. But obviously, looking at yet again, Lindsay Smith's named in that 20-man, so it was probably he was the next guy up. Jacob Carraz, 18th man. If it stays that way, the fact they've named 2 backline players tells me there is definitely an 100% doubt around To'o. That's not good for Carraz owners. That's another number loss if he keeps that 18th man. Whether or not it stays like that, but I guess him named 18th man, we're going to treat it like we've just lost Carraz. I guess that's also a pain for guys that don't have him, because that means if you had all these other guys penciled in for your around 19 plans, you might have to go straight to Carraz now instead of grabbing him this week. So I think that kind of stuffs up both of us. The only difference is the guys that do have him, like, we've got him sitting outside. He's not going to play this week. But nonetheless, it's a keep for the run home. Apart from that, no big surprises. I guess it's kind of smart, maybe not making too many big changes and going for team unity and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, surprised that, two backline plays in that 18 to 20. All right, let's continue on. Looks like we're going solo with Mikey for this podcast, which is fine. Me and Robbie seem to go close to that hour and a half mark. Let's go game number 6. We got the Dolphins and the Bunnies. Top scorer, the Hammer. He scores 4. I'm pretty sure he scored. Yeah, he scored 4, 129. He shows what the Hammer can do. It'd be an option if he was at center wing. Is he an option at fullback? Probably not for me. Absolute ultimate pod. Yeah, definitely, but not for me. Katoa with 111. Been told he's going to be going into that Blues camp, which he definitely deserves. And man, if Katoa was available, like, I don't play as halfback. If for some reason he was dual, then I'd definitely be looking at him. But at halfback, I just can't look at him with all the other options we got there. But he's continued to killing it. And when the Dolphins put 50 points on, it's always, Katoa's got a high score, Hammer's got a high score, and Herbie's normally up there too with a score of 86. Marshall King scores a try, 88. Maybe just pricks the ears of a few people, potentially. Did Cody Walker go down injured? I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember if he went down injured. But 89, if he wasn't injured, let's just say he wasn't injured, he's at 308k. So alarm bells ringing there, because if he stays fit, that is a very juicy price for Cody Walker, and I seem to always fall in that rabbit hole. But if we are interested in any South plays for the run home, Their draw, it's mixed. Dolphins, obviously in the bye. No, so they just play Dolphins. So they play Manly. And in the bye round, they do have a bye in round 19, and then they go Panthers, Sharks, Broncos. Are probably not the greatest three there, but then they got Titans, Para, Dragons, bye in head-to-head finals week, or grand final week, I should say, and then finish on the Roosters, which they love to finish on the Roosters. So, yeah, could be an interesting one. I like the Dolphins draw. Herbie with an 86. He just keeps getting it done, man. Absolute gun. I don't mind the Dolphins draw either, so a pod from there could work wonders for you. And from the Bunnies, AJ doesn't score a try, finally sees a low score, and he's not going to make any money. And we did say the pros and cons to having AJ, and I spoke about it with Barnesy, and he shows you the cons right there and just shows you that you can't grab him, especially him for to make money out of him all the time. Like, he can score a ton as quick as he can score 10. So he's sometimes a real headache to own. I've owned him every year. This will be the first. If I don't grab him this year, it's the first year I haven't had him in years. So it's just a headache when you pick and choose when to play him, because you hate getting the 20s out of him. But if I had him for the Dolphins, I'm going to play him for sure. He scored 4 tries against Melbourne. So it's a headache picking when to grab him. So, or to when to play him, I should say. Sorry. Apart from that, Campbell Graham 45, 423k. I guess you could have him on the radars. Colin Matangi with a lower score of 45, but nonetheless, they're going to the bye. Latrell Mitchell, very keen on Latrell Mitchell. I just haven't worked out of him and Edwards who I would like more. But break even at 76, he'll hold that price. But now he'll have 2 decent scores in that rolling average. So he's going to have 97 and this week's 80 in there. So now it's going to get the point where I feel like if you want him, jump on him fairly soon. Luckily, the handy thing about that is we don't have to worry about restings, because the Bunnies will have a bye. So you can wait till 20. So if you, example, like I wanted Edwards, but Tom, and I have Tom to get to him, and Tom has a good week next week, and I want to get another week out of, or Tom has a bye, so that wouldn't work. I guess it would just give you an extra week to plan. Like if you wanted to get rid of someone like Drinky, or it gives you an extra week to kind of get him. But I think at that price, I'm interested. We've mentioned that run home. I kind of like those matchups for Latrell. So the tough point will be deciding which one I want out of Latrell and Edwards. I think they're both options. Potentially, could definitely look at both if I wasn't to hold Drinky for that run home. But I guess you've got 2 weeks to make that decision. Let's go to today's games. So I thought this might be a little bit closer, but it doesn't surprise me after Bellamy absolutely tearing them a new one last week. So what it comes to now, 30-6. We got Jerome Hughes top scores this one. Got him last week. Was a little bit upset with how he performed. And so wait, give us a sec. Sorry. Break even at 30 though, so he'll actually kind of make money, because I know like potentially a lot of us that went Cleary to Hughes, we might want to go Hughes back to Cleary, and this week he's going to make about 50, 60k, 660. That big score does drop out of his rolling average, so it sucks he couldn't have turned up after the last one. Would have been more of a rise, but I guess for Hughes and Hines owners, you can kind of work out who you want more. I think Hughes has the big ones. We haven't seen the Storm completely keep putting together or put a team to the sword yet. So I'm more leaning towards selling Hines at this stage. The Melbourne's draw, they're done with their buys, but they've got Knights, Manly, Roosters, Eels, Broncos, Penrith, Dogs, Roosters, Broncos. So they still got to play Broncos and Roosters twice. They haven't played them at all yet. And they've also got Penrith and Doggies in there. So like I do like their run, but in 23, 24, 25, 26, it's Broncos, Penrith, Bulldogs, Roosters. So that is head-to-head finals week. So I guess that's a thing to also point out with the Storm. Alicia Katoa, I think if you don't have him yet, just show what he could do today under the high wall, man. He had a cracker game. 106, yeah. I think you just have to grab him. Saw for Longo, that was a nasty one to watch, that hamstring injury, poor guy. Cameron Munster, 51. If you need numbers, do you sell him potentially? I don't own Cameron Munster, and I'm not even going to look at running home with him. I don't want to make a trade in 5 because he's not screaming like grab me. Like when they put teams to the sword, yeah, he has those high games in him, but he's just not showing it at this point. Harry Grant with the 48, he has a bit of a lower one. Break even of 49, so he doesn't really go up too much. So that's perfect for the people that are looking to jump on him. I personally, with this, I'll wait one more week, let him get rested after Origin, or whether or not he doesn't get rested after Origin, I'll wait one more week and look up to pick him up in that round 20 when I'm ready to make a hooker trade. But yeah, I guess everyone's going to be looking on when to jump onto him. Apart from that, Paps with a very low 42 with a whopping 15% captaincy option. So can he make it up for owners next week in the buy round? I went into the last buy round without Herbie, and that took away me having a super week. And next round, my round's going to be decided on how he goes. I'm not interested in grabbing him next week. His price is going to go down a fair chunk. So he was at the 77. He was projected to go down 24. So based off that math, he's going to lose about 50K. So he'll go down to 660. So it is a juicy price to jump on him next week if I would like to run home with him. But as I said at this point, I've got numbers for next week. I think with those ends, even with Carraz out, I think before I jump off, I'll give you a rough number for you because obviously I won't be on the Tuesday podcast. Can't make that one. But I think I'm at 17. So I'm not going to trade. I personally just prefer Edwards and Latrell for the run home. So that's why, like a guy with this super ownership, I'd rather make another play here and kind of unipod him. Like I'm just going to be stubborn with this one. But if I had him, would I look to sell him? Nah, I don't think you can. Not next week. I mean, maybe if he dishes up another poor score next week, then maybe you could. But sorry, I was meant to get to the matchup. He's playing. They play the Cowboys. They play the Cowboys in the bye. Which he did play the Cowboys already before this year. And the Cowboys will be missing Nanai, Cotter. We'll be missing a few, but obviously Melbourne will be without Munster, Harry Grant. So, yeah, who knows what can happen in that game. But yeah, he scored 75 at Amy Park. They're going to be playing at Queensland Country Bank Stadium, so it's going to be an interesting one. Apart from that, Melbourne-wise, not really interested in any others. We flick over the Sharks. They had a pretty off game. Hines at 62. Low 600, so it's going to cost money to up James Cleary, but I'm highly considering it over Hughes because I think he's got a bit more upside. The Sharks, drop out of the 8. I think that's 3 or 4 losses in a row. They're in a bit of a downer. Ramian with 40 in my super pod. I really thought he could have a big one this week, but it wasn't to be. A lot of low scores in this one, but I guess these low scores, if the Sharks can turn it around, will present opportunity. And the one thing maybe that I need to relook the Hines versus Hughes is I'm pretty confident they have a really good run home. Let's review it. So their last buy round will be... No, they've only had one. So next week they'll have their second, and they have a buy in round 25, which is prelims for the head-to-heads finals. They go Dolphins, Roosters, Bunnies, Cowboys, Dragons, Titans, Knights, Dogs. It is a good draw. All of those guys that I mentioned, though, are in the contention of the 8. So some of these easier matchups might not be easier matchups on their week. Just whether or not you believe the Sharks haven't missed out on the final series in quite a while, and they have made a couple of top 4s. So I'd like to believe that they will turn it around. So that'll be a call I'll make then. Apart from that, Nakora finally has a low one at 49. Not good for owners, good for non-owners, obviously. Apart from that, for the decent run, I will be looking at guys like Mulatalo, Katoa if I just want a cheeky play. Like Mulatalo's gone all the way down to 490K. So if you really like their matchup, could be a target. I don't know if I'd target it for the Dolphins, Roosters. Probably more like it for the Bunnies, Cowboys, Dragons, Titans. I think he could be a handy one for the final series, and I'd like Siona Katoa for the same reason. Katoa's price is 556K. Just Mulatalo at that, I didn't realize how cheap he got down to, and with that 20 this week, break even of 100. So he's at 490K, but with the 20 he scored this week, he's going to go down to 420K, 430K. So definitely interested in Mulatalo in a few weeks. Could be a good way to get rid of Billy Smith, or even you could go Karapani down to him, could make you money potentially, or it should make you money. All right, let's go over to the last game of the week. It was the Titans and the Cowboys. A little bit of a comeback here. This is a game I love for SuperCoach. High scoring, 54 points in it. And yeah, really upticked my week. Drinky top scores this one with 131. Absolutely loves playing the Titans. That's back to back. It's the main reason. Like, I wasn't confident captaining him, but he scored 132 against him last time. So I was just like, you know what? It was such a dismal week that I thought he was the best option. So 130 against him. So this year, both his 130 score games come from that. When he got the 130 last time, he ended up going 127, 117. They do play Melbourne, but it's Melbourne in a bye round. I think it's the best time to play him. Dearden's obviously going to be out as well. So I know the last game that they were out, Drinky did have a pretty low score, but I think he got 33. But the difference with this one is he was he was HIA'd for 15 of those minutes. So I don't hate the Melbourne matchup as much for this one. I do think he could score pretty decently still. And they follow that with the Dogs, and they got Dolphins, Dragons, Sharks. I haven't made my mind up if I'm going to run home with Drinky. I want to see how he performs in the next week or two, and then look, if I really can't make up with Edwards and who's the other fullback I wanted? Latrell, I could definitely get both of them by selling Drinky as well. So a lot of it, you just got to kind of wait and see. I know you've got to make moves, but I just want to give myself time with the limited trade to make sure I make the right one. Robson, 66. It's a pretty big drop-off of all these scores. Murray Tuolungi, 58. He could be a handy pop for the run home at 580k potentially. And over to the Titans, Firma top scores for them with 88. Handy pickup for those guys that jumped on with the dual flexibility. Pretty handy. Brimson, 87. He needs to do a lot to get that 87, but picked up that try late and the try assist. And pretty happy because when I got a fully stacked side, I'm not going to play him on most weeks. So I got lucky that I had to play him this week because Campbell was out. Apart from that, who else do we got? Any more relevancy there? Tino with a 52. I could get around the Tino sell, but I would have liked to do it before, like last round, before he dropped the stack. He dropped 75 last week. He's going to drop another 50 this week. He gets to the point where you just got to hold him. As their run goes to the end of the year, to avoid the spoon, they might just want to. His minutes might go up, so just got to hold him. It's a handy guy to have, and you just play on debt. Like I didn't play him this week, and I just won't look to play until I see the uptick in minutes. Apart from that wraps up the week. Apart from that, tune in with, or thanks guys for tuning in. Don't forget to tune in. Savs was meant to rock up tonight, but there's been plenty on. I've been dogging him because of work, so got one back. But apart from that, tune in with, I'm not sure who's on the rotation this week, maybe Grant. Tune in with Savs and one of the three boys that are normally on the rotation on Tuesday, where they will dissect, obviously we'll get the Queensland lineup and they'll dissect going into a third and final bye round. I will probably see you guys next week unless I have night shift for work. But as I said, my trades, I'm probably looking at doing none that are playing next week. I'll look at maybe doing Couchman to Crichton to set me up for the next week. Got 370 in the bank, so that'll still leave me with 300k to be able to pick up 2 guns going into round 19. And before we see the origin names, let's count how many I have going for the final bye round. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I've got 16. That is not including Karaz. So I had Karaz and Couch, and I did have 18, but I've lost both of them. I'm just not counting Karaz. So I'm happy with that. If I dip down to 15, I can live with that too. The only way I make a trade is if I really find someone that I'm just not looking at that I can run home with. But the hard thing here is if you pick up a Manly or a Souths player, they're going to have a bye. The same with Canberra. They're going to have a bye the week after. So it kind of then limits you down to 7 teams to pick from. But apart from that, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Good luck with planning for the final bye round. See you guys next time.